now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
Sa coronavirus yare no yare esan pa so obi bi na se opo wagu so ana se ohwinti gu so a wutumenya yare ni bi
okadi ni bahani onaka oyehila ekoji ohebanye do obawulo ogoba hunu obachine ojamba wohe obana sen kaka mekmemusunchon mekmenu ni enihe
Coronavirus infection, the symptoms can range from mild, one of it being asymptomatic. Asymptomatic just means that you may not have any symptoms at all, and the disease process can gradually worsen to be a severe form, the severest being ultimately death.
We are expected to sanitize our hands when our hands are not visibly soiled or you can't really see dirt on your hands. If you can see dirt on your hands, the best thing to do is to wash your hands with soap and the running water.
If you're using any of the cloth face masks, always make sure you have a rubber bag ready to receive it when you remove it, or you have a bowl of warm soapy water in which you can place the mask and wash. Wash your mask, dry in the hot sun for at least 5 hours, and apply heat by way of ironing.
Utiliser les ports de Tema et de Takoradi, c'est avoir un traitement rapide et sécurisé de vos marchandises diverses en conteneurs, en sac ou en vrac, ainsi que tous vos véhicules en transit. Le Ghana a construit un parking bien pavé pour tous les véhicules en transit. Une nouvelle gare frigorifique pour le stockage de la marchandise congelée en transit. Avec un nouveau centre de traitement de données construit et la mise en œuvre efficace d'un guichet unique national qui permet aux données d'être accessibles par tous les intervenants, le traitement des dossiers dans les ports du Ghana est maintenant efficace et plus efficient. Utiliser les ports du Ghana, c'est profiter des systèmes de portes électroniques et d'exploitation des terminaux ainsi que de la réservation des navires en ligne, entraînant ainsi un parc de camions fiables pour un acheminement de vos marchandises dans les brefs délais avec un suivi satellitaire jusqu'à nos frontières.
Les femmes, à vous les honneurs.
Les ports de Tema et de Takoradi célèbrent la femme. Que les bienfaits de cette célébration apportent plus de bénédictions.
After my secondary school education, I relocated to London, where I studied textile design and technology. After my studies, I explored various rich cultures in my travels around Asia and the Middle East. In 2008, I relocated to Ghana and worked in the textile industry. During this time, I identified a need for alternative fashion products using textile fabric. I began making jewelry for close family and friends. This much enjoyed hobby eventually grew into the business Emma Bird Accessories, named after my grandmother. Here at Emma Bird, we use textile fabric as an alternative material for jewelry and accessories. We source locally made textiles as well as fabric waste from apparel manufacturers, making it a sustainable concept within our fashion industry. All Emma Bird products are handmade in Ghana. We employ various artisans from all over the country. By doing so, we aim to create jobs and improve the livelihood of many. From our design process, detailing, and quality checks, we always have our customer in mind as we aim to create products that empower women and provide them with unique pieces to express their own style.
Okay, so that was some of the works of Na Amanua Williams. She's the owner and head designer, Emma Bird's. Is it Emma Bird's or Emma Bird's? Emma Bird Handmade Jewelry and Accessories. She's one of my guests tonight. Also, one of my guests, Dr. Joseph Atamensa. He's the Principal Policy Advisor of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA. Also in the studio is Mr. Alexander Dajawa, Director of Projects, Ghana Export Promotion Authority. And we're going to talk about promoting value-added exports to remain competitive in a continental economy. I have to apologize for the late start of this program, and that's because there was an important assignment that was being carried out by the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And we have to say congratulations to the Jospon groups for that wonderful facility they have around the Tema there, that waste treatment facility. So we're going to delve into export. Gentlemen and lady, welcome and thank you very much for being patient and staying with us throughout the period. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And welcome. Let me start with you now, because we started watching some of your videos. What are you into?
So we're into handmade costume jewelry. We create jewelry to inspire women.
Okay.
And we represent women empowerment,
okay.
Job creation, to encourage, better livelihood,
okay.
and also sustainable production. So we believe in a circular value chain.
Okay.
So we make use of raw waste material coming from the garment manufacturers that we use in producing most of our pieces.
So when you say waste materials coming from garment factories, what is it?
So basically, these are the waste materials that are left after the manufacturers have produced their garments and their whatever the products for export or for their market. So all the pieces that are left, we collect them and recycle, use them in making jewelry.
I see. And how well is that doing?
It's doing very well.
Ghanaians?
Yes. Yes, people are really patronizing it. There's now a lot of people are into connecting with their roots. You know, they want to buy made in Africa goods, and this is really helping, you know, African businesses now. So
okay, and I know you also represent women who are into some exports and trade and all of that. What is that about?
Yes, so I'm the national expert for textile and apparel for the She Trades Commonwealth Project, which aims at connecting 3 million women to market by 2021 March, and the countries.
3 million women to market.
Yes.
What market?
Export readiness.
Yes,
so basically, you have Ghana, Nigeria, Bangladesh, and Kenya making this.
Ghana, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Kenya.
And Kenya, yes. And we provide them with, you know, all the necessary trainings, and then also we connect them. We create opportunities for them to get onto, you know, all these trade events happening in Europe and even here in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
To what extent are you familiar with the Continental Free Trade Area that we continue to hear about?
Well, not much, but I know that it's going to make trading amongst, you know, African countries easier, because we face a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to logistics, moving goods across. I mean, there's been times when some of our SMEs registered under our umbrella have tried to, you know, do business with neighboring countries, giving them a quotation, only to realize later on that all their profits have been lost in, you know, moving of the goods. So we hope that this new agreement would help us to, you know, trade profitably, and then be able to scale up our businesses and also be competitive. Then as well, the collaborations that would be created between, I'd like to push women-owned businesses. So the collaborations that will be created between women-owned businesses here and across the continent as well. So women supporting each other's businesses to scale up and also to be more competitive. Because you can't find all the raw materials here on ground. You know, so if I knew that another entrepreneur somewhere in Kenya had, you know, the raw materials, now we connect with them and see how we can work together to, you know, to develop.
Okay.
To grow.
You set a fine tone for me to ask Doc the next question as to those who are in the business of now, and also those who are probably doing one business or the other in Ghana. They probably have heard a lot about this after Continental Free Trade Area and all of that, but I'm not sure what it is about. Can you explain to the likes of NA and the others what the Continental Free Trade Area is all about first?
Well, first of all, Samuel, thank you for having me in the studio. Great question. The Continental Free Trade Area, when we talk about a free trade area, what exactly it means is that right now, when you import or export, mainly imports from another African country, you've got to pay tariffs on them. So what it means to have the Continental Free Trade Area within Africa is that goods that are traded within the continent would command no tariffs, right? So she is a perfect candidate to benefit from it.
She's a fair candidate.
Perfect.
A perfect. Okay.
Perfect candidate to benefit from it. Why do I say that? I say that in the sense that for now, anyone in any other country who wants their goods would have to pay whatever price she quotes. Once the goods gets across to the other part, the other side, the person that takes delivery of it, adjusting for exchange rates, would have to pay tariffs on them.
Okay.
So once 1st of January comes and parties are able to agree, what it means is that her goods now are going to, in real terms, the price is going to come down. Why? Because there'll be zero tariffs.
Okay.
Right, to the consumer outside Canada, outside Ghana, within Africa, right? So it's beneficial to her, and I'm glad that she talked about the employment creation that it generates. And if prices come down, we would expect that there will be demand. So there'll be more of hair, right? I happen to come from a place my mom is from Akropon, and every time I go there, I see the young people, on the streets, and I keep asking, what can this young kin, my kin, I'll say I'll say the third.
Yeah, you just saw the president at the Donko.
So
that's fine.
What can he do to provide jobs for? So people like her, in that on the ridge, people like her in Insuta, in Ashanti region, people like her in Paga somewhere, can begin to become creative and take advantage of it, right? So what has happened? It's my understanding that in order to prepare Ghanaians to take advantage of this free trade area, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, under the able leadership of Minister Alan Chimantin, have created a coordinating office unit. And this coordinating unit has been able to set up various 7 groups, strategy groups, in different areas like infrastructure, finance, trade policy, what have you, in order to be able to come out and help people like her, right?
Okay.
To take advantage of the situation of the agreement, so that it benefits her.
Okay.
And it benefits people like her. So it is in my view that Ghana has to take advantage of it.
Yeah. But you mentioned that come January 1, if countries agree, are we expecting some countries to agree before whatever we are to expect from January 1 will take off?
No. So
or at this point in time, we can categorically say that from January 1, the likes of her or businesses can begin to take advantage.
First of all, let's be clear. The agreement has been signed by 54 countries within Africa. But for it to become binding on each and every country, you've got to pass the agreement through your parliaments or national arrangements that you have. Ghana has done that, and so as other 29 countries have done that. So what it means is that there are 30 countries that have ratified the agreement. So right now, come 1st of January, it will be within the 30 countries because they have ratified, right? So come January, what it means is that Ghana and the 30 countries have already submitted 80% to 90% of the goods that they would want to have zero tariffs in. Because every country has goods that they deem as sensitive. They would have to define what are the sensitive products, and that would take time before the tariffs will come down. But at least 90% would go down. And it's not only in goods, but it's also in services. Because the agreement is into 4 areas. You have the framework itself, you have the protocol on goods, you have the protocol on services, and then you have protocol on dispute resolution. Because somebody might say, Amanua, your product that you sell, the necklace, there's a problem with it. And Amanua will say, look, when I sent it, it was fair, right? So there has to be a way of dispute mechanism. But I think, to me, the minister is committed, and therefore Ghana is ready for it. Come 1st of January.
Okay.
Ghana is ready. So the likes of her, and we have to be realistic to know that it is not going to be 1st of January, then everybody
starts rushing for something.
Yeah, it's going to be a gradual process, right? And so some countries might take a longer time. But what you need, in my opinion, is you need the countries like Ghana, the South Africans, big countries which have ratified, to take the lead, because once you have that momentum generated, and that's why I love the NED, the National Expo,
which we're going to come to extensively,
which have been able to identify strategic goods. It's able to identify potentials, right, which Ghana can benefit from. For instance, cocoa. Where I come from, we have lots of cocoa. So I would want my chief, Nana Osadiayo, Kwesi Akufo III, to be able to mobilize his cocoa and transform it into chocolate or something else. Not only helping the people there to just haul the raw cocoa beans out, but let him be able to get, with the support of government and private sector like be able to set up a chocolate factory, be able to set up a cocoa butter factory, which will be able to provide the jobs that the people need, and at the same time it will lift the country, the community.
Okay.
So it's important.
Do you know if offers such as dismantling of the tariffs and all of that from 1st January, we should begin to see those?
Well, like I said, it's not going to be first to come January 1, then everybody says zero tariff.
Yep,
ideally, theoretically, yes.
Will an offer like dismantling tariffs take off? Do you know that for sure?
I think well, from my conversations with my friends who are the secretariats, with my conversations from traveling around Africa before the COVID, countries that have signed on, countries that have ratified, are ready to knock down the tariffs. And so the point is that for Ghana, for instance, and I hope that there will be perhaps maybe a website where people like her will be able to go into that website and to know the goods that are zero tariffs and the goods that are a sensitive product. I think they are working on it. To the best of my knowledge, they are working on it, and that website will come for people to know the category of goods and in terms of those which are attractive. So to answer your question, yes, there's commitment.
Okay, so we're talking about promoting value-added exports to remain competitive, and this whole continental free economy that we are likely to see take off the 1st of January. We want to see how best businesses, Ghanaian businesses in particular, can take advantage of this particular platform that's been created by all the member countries, and a doctor just mentioned about 30 countries so far ratified. We want to see how best Ghanaians can start taking advantage of that, and we've got just about 2 months away from now to January, and people are preparing, businesses are preparing. The likes of Namanwa and her team in the she trade area, they are preparing. So how can you also prepare if you're a business? Begin to put your things in order, ensure that from January 1st your exports will increase. Now when you will increase your exports, you'll be doing a lot of business with the port, and the port will be happy, money will come to country, and we will be excited. The Ghana Export Promotion Authority is helping in this direction. They are doing a lot of things. They've recently launched the National Export Development Strategy. We want to know the content of that. We want to know details about that and what that offers also for Ghanaians. So we are fortunate. With us is the Director of Projects with GEPA, Mr. Alexander Dajawa. If you can explain to us what the National Export Promotion Export Development Strategy is. What are some of the issues embedded that people should know about?
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel, for the opportunity, and also to say good evening to everybody and my colleagues. We've already started a conversation in the sense that already Namanwa has a product to sell, and she's also already into exports. Every country's push is for that country's economy to grow. And for the economy to grow, it's important that you sell what you have, not only in the country but also, more importantly, outside of the country, so that you can generate more revenue into the country. You know, revenue streams come from various sources. You have tax revenue, but you also have revenue coming from goods and services that you sell abroad. And we realized that as a country, we've been doing quite well in our export drive, but not quite, looking at the potential that Ghana has and the types of products that we have to offer to the world.
Do you have some numbers to share so that we can
relate? We are talking specifically about out of the entire what do you call it, exports revenues that we generate. We've divided them into two parts.
Okay.
We have the traditional exports and the non-traditional exports. All together constitute exports from Ghana. Okay. But since 1983, Ghana had decided to diversify our export base, so that we can have more products to sell to the world. And so we have been at it for quite a while now, but we've not been able to do that well in terms of our non-traditional export revenue. which for some years now has hovered just around, let me say, $3 billion, under $3 billion, but the push is so far to get about $3 billion, and we've not been able to cross the 3 billion mark in the last 5 years. We hover around 2.5, 2.6, and 2018 we did 2.899 billion dollars.
Okay.
But which is not enough. Okay. I mean, the whole country as Ghana, for us to achieve only $3 billion worth of non-traditional exports, it's not enough. If you take the total exports of Ghana, we are around $15 billion. Oil revenue, cocoa revenue, and all to put together around $15 billion. Out of this, non-traditional exports give us $3 billion. Let me say, round it up to $3 billion, which is not enough. You know, maybe just one state in China or Germany
should be able to make that.
Doing about $20 billion.
I see.
For a whole country to do only $3 billion is not enough. And we have recognized that. Government itself has recognized that the potential we have is big, but we are not taking advantage of it.
Okay.
So the idea then is to give a big push, as it were, to our export sector to grow. You know, that so that the potential in the sector can be harnessed.
Okay.
And we are riding on the back of the AFCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade area.
Okay, before you link that one, let me take you slightly back. Are you able to connect the figures we are getting from export to that of import and be able to tell us whether we are balancing the trade?
No, we are not balancing the trade, as always. It's difficult to balance the trade.
So we've never balanced the trade for the past, say, 4 or 5 years?
No, we've never balanced the trade.
I see.
Which means that we are always in deficit. You know, and that is the more reason.
The import is always extremely exceeding.
Not extremely, but I don't have the figures immediately.
But you know that it definitely exceeds the export.
We are always having deficit. Trade balance is always in favor of the other countries.
Import.
Not Ghana. So we really have a lot to do in that area, and so we recognize that we have to put in extra efforts and more focused strategies as to how to enable us achieve the potential of the export sector that we have. For example, to put a lot more emphasis on Namanua's business, which is in adding value to something that, for example, industry has rejected, which is cuts from from garments and all that. And she is recycling it to produce very beautiful jewelry that has been shown, and she must have a market for it. You understand? So that is what we are doing now, and our target is that we would need to make sure that value added, exports control the greater part of the economy, as opposed to the raw materials that we've been exporting so far, which is not helping us. The best we were able to do is to do semi-processed, but semi-processed has its own limits. But we must always endeavor to get tertiary processing to the what the market really wants.
Okay, so
and what the quality and volumes that are required to make that big jump in our export revenue realized as soon as possible. So in brief, the National Export Development Strategy is to enable us put in place strategies and mechanisms that will enable us to achieve a target that we have set ourselves in the next 10 years. It's a 10-year strategy which concludes in 2029, and during which period we hope to rake in some $25 billion from the present level of $3 billion.
That's quite ambitious.
That is quite ambitious, but
3 billion to 25.
It's always good to be ambitious and to work towards that ambition. And if you look at the strategy, the document itself has many sub-strategies that we would have to implement in order to achieve that goal that we set ourselves. And it rests on 3 major pillars. And those pillars are important things that need to happen before we realize the goal that we want to realize. One of which is the supply capacity of most of our products that we have, which is very low, and therefore we are never able to take advantage of the market openings. So if we don't do something about that, even if the whole of Africa says bring Ghanaian goods, we will not be able to do it because we don't just have the capacity to do it. The second issue is about the bottlenecks that are in the system that inhibit, for example, a small business as that of an Amama to evolve and also to become giants one day, because we know that there are various challenges that the small businesses face. from infrastructure to cost of inputs, to cost of utilities, to issues about access to credits at very affordable rates that will enable them also to compete. All these come together to inhibit our forward move as far as export is concerned. And the third part of it has to do with human capacity, the capacity of the human resource to be able to do the things that we want to do. And before we came online, I was asking her about the labor cost and if labor is trainable and is in right frame that will enable her business to grow. And she told me that no, they need a lot more training. And we have done the studies that have revealed that we have a lot to do in terms of building capacity of our private sector operators to be able to take advantage of whatever market openings are there, first of all. And this is the reason why this strategy has been adopted and now launched recently, just a few days ago, during the second national conference on the AFTA.
Okay, so which businesses, for instance, are you looking at, or you are targeting to sort of immediately use as a priority area and propel them to begin to lift the export numbers?
Well, I spoke about the non-traditional export sector and its products.
Within the non-traditional
export sector, we have many products. From agriculture to manufacturing to pharmaceuticals.
But have you prioritized
and now we have prioritized it in the document because we cannot
start with all of it like that.
So we have about 16 what we call value chains or product sectors. Not maybe specific one product, but any product and its derivatives in one particular sector are candidate for development. And I would say that if you want to go through the list, we have, for the agricultural sector, we have cashew, for example, which everybody knows now that Ghana has huge potentials in. But we are going to lay emphasis not on raw cashew exports, but processed cashew exports. We are going to look at the horticultural sector, which Ghana has already been doing quite a lot in, which is our pineapples, our mangoes, and all other fruits and vegetables in that sector. We are looking at textiles and garments, which is Amanua's favorite sector.
Okay.
We are also looking
That's
at
not bad. You come almost third.
Yeah, she's there, and processed cocoa.
Okay.
And Ghana cocoa is premium and is the best. But the president has always talked about value addition to our cocoa. Now we are processing only about 30% of our cocoa, which is not good enough. The strategy says that we should process up to about 80%.
Okay.
And once we do that, that alone can give us almost, I can confidently say, about $10 billion.
Okay.
Because right now we are doing just about $1 billion, not in finished cocoa, but in semi-processed, which is the butter, the cake, and the liquor and all that, giving us just under $1 billion. And so if we up our game, we should be able to do no less than $10 billion in the next 5 to 6 years. So that is another important area. Now government's industrialization agenda and the push for many more industrial sectors to be established here, for example, the automobile and the machinery and all that. It's also been factored in because Ghana wants to be a hub for manufacture of vehicles and vehicle parts to export to the rest of. First, it was thought that we could export to West Africa, but now the whole of Africa is open up for us. Apart from South Africa, that assembles and produces vehicles, if I'm not mistaken.
And Nigeria does some bit of Volkswagen cars and all.
And so if we position ourselves well, we should be able to do a lot more there. So that has also been retained in the strategy document. And then we are talking about plastics, aluminium, fish and fishery products, which is also very important. But not the least also, we are looking at iron and steel, which is also another huge area. And we have seen of late a lot of FDIs, coming into Ghana to do iron and steel, and it will be good for our industrial takeoff as well.
Okay.
So in brief, these are some, but there are a lot more that I can add. Oil seeds are also there, and services. Services. For example, our financial services, our educational services, IT, and all these have also been. And then medical tourism, because we have very good and excellent medical facilities in Ghana that we can leverage on. and attract people to come and consume those services in Ghana.
And you call that tourism? Medical tourism means that
people come to Ghana, for example, to our cardio center in Kolebu to get healing. And when they come, they pay in foreign currency. They pay in dollars. And we refer to that also as
I see
exports.
Okay.
We have our orthopedic centers where they correct the bones and things like that. This is also, and then plastic surgery. These are not common in West Africa.
Okay.
And people come all over to come and undertake those services in Ghana and get healed. So that is also one of the things.
If I find myself in all these some of these categories that you have mentioned, and I'm doing business and I intend to scale it up, how can I approach the NETS? That's the National Export Development Strategy. And who can I begin to contact and see, and what can happen to me as soon as possible?
Yeah, because these are prioritized. All these areas are going to give you special focus and attention. And for example, a company as that of
textiles and garments,
using it as
because she is here.
Because she is here. She can immediately approach Ghana Export Promotion Authority. It's a government strategy, which is being administered from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. But Ghana Export Promotion Authority is the coordinating agency for that. Okay. So immediately we are setting up a secretariat for that, and for special purposes of developing whatever business there are in those sectors, we'll give them priority, and we'll have to look at their situations case by case, depending on the needs, the special needs of that particular company. Maybe her company will be, as she was telling me, access to raw material, the fabrics to be able to use in producing whatever it is that they want to produce. We'll look at that case and see what attention that can be given to her. And then if it is a processing, let's say a processing factory that is interested in processing, let's say mango, they can also immediately approach Ghana Export Promotion Authority. And there are, interventions that have been put in place to help those companies immediately to start scaling up. And for example, the Ghana Exim Bank is also going to play a very significant role in this area, because they have access to the funds that we provided to these companies if they need resources to be able to upscale their production. For example, you see what is happening with Ecofi juice, and Ghana Exim Bank was the one that provided the resources to enable the company to take off, and now they are doing very well domestically. And very soon, I'm sure they'll be upscaling to export to the West African.
Okay, I'll come to funding the nets and how you sure we are of its sustenance and all of that financially as well. But if I'm not within the priority list, for instance, that you have mentioned, so I'm not into cocoa, I'm not into garment, I'm not into horticulture, I'm not into plastics and all of that, but I'm doing some business of a sort that probably when I approach you, you would find it interesting. What is there for me within the nets?
What the nets seeks to do is not to belittle any export sector. All the sectors are important, but as you know, you always have to prioritize because your means are limited. You necessarily have to prioritize. So these 17 sectors are the ones that have been retained in the sector to give the concentrated assistance. It does not mean that if you are doing, for example, if you are producing, let's say,
leather bags, leather shoes, and all of that,
or belts, and you have a market for it, it doesn't mean that you will not be giving the necessary push. All the better for it. We will still have to give you that support.
But would you give me that immediate attention as somebody in garment would get as soon as I approach?
Well, all exports are exports.
Okay.
Yeah, so all will be given the necessary attention.
And they can all begin to approach Ghana Export Promotion Authority from now?
They always approach us anyway, because that is why we exist, and we've been doing this for the last 50 years. That is what we do.
Well, now that you have launched the nets, they know that there is something to lash on and say that, look, because of this that you have launched, I'm coming for this.
Yeah, certainly. But let me quickly say that it does not mean that everything that has to happen from the public sector perspective, or government will have to necessarily come in and do what it has to do. Yes, government has a role to play, but the more important role has to be played by the private sector, because they are the ones that are doing the business, and so they must invest in their businesses. But government will create the necessary enabling environment for them to be able to scale up in order to take advantage of this. And government will lead the way and introduce them to specific aspects of the needs that they express and how they can be assisted. Because we have many other agencies that are involved in the implementation of the net. It is not only Ghana Export Promotion Authority. For example, if it has to do with quality issues, Ghana Export Promotion Authority would lead them to the agency that is responsible for providing them that support to be able to solve the problem of quality.
Okay.
And so it's a networked strategy that involves many other players, and all these players are going to play that role significantly to enable us to succeed. And there's going to be a steering committee which will be put in place. We just launched the strategy, so now all the structures are being put in place that will enable that concentrated effort from all the government agencies involved in ensuring that the next succeed. Okay, so if I'm a Ghanaian business, I want to take advantage of the other African countries from January 1 going. I'm not sure what to look at. I want to know which market I can approach and what is in there. Who can I see? How do I get information? How do I get to know what I can take advantage of starting 1st January? And I also want to know what is in there. If from 1st January, do I have a free that? Do I have a free that? Do I have a quota free? Do I have some tariffs that I can be taken off and all that? Who do I approach? Well, essentially the Ministry of Trade and Industry, working through Ghana Export Promotion Authority. So Ghana Export Promotion Authority. And then there's also the AFTA Secretariat, which is at the Ministry of Trade and Industry. They are responsible for the negotiations and the concessions that will be provided, and they will also provide information on the lists of all the countries that have ratified the agreement, as Doc is talking about, because each country has its own peculiar products they want to offer to the world. Like say, Ghana can come in with their, let's say, with fruit juice, for example, to Kenya, and Kenya will tell Ghana that yes, we have liberalized 0% tariff on fruit juice, so Ghana can bring fruit juice into Kenya, and that information will be lodged with the Ministry of Trade and Industry. So if anybody wants information on which products are being offered duty-free, quota-free to those respective markets, it will be obtained from the Ministry of Trade and Industry and also from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. We have an active website, which is what we call the Ghana Export Promotion Authority Trade Hub, which is our website. Those information will be posted. Already some information is available on the website that can be accessed, but we are going to put more information there for the general public to have access to going forward. Yeah. Now you have started exporting already. Yeah. You've been exporting your stuff. Where have you been exporting to?
Currently, we've been exporting in small quantities to countries like Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Benin. We're also in the US, Canada, in the UK, Barcelona, Lebanon, and a few other countries.
Okay. The Nigeria, Benin, the African market, how is the patronage? How is it going?
It's I mean, the market, we do have, the demand is there, but the difficulty now is, trying to move the goods without incurring extra charges, so that once the goods without incurring extra charges when it comes to the logistics. Okay. Yeah, it's always an issue. Logistics. Okay. Yeah. But like you were saying, I wanted to add, if data can be collected from the amount of importations that is coming into the country to see how we can, to leverage, the export and the imports.
No, we do have we have data of imports. Is that what you mean?
As in the items that are being imported.
Okay.
So we see, if there's a lot of something in tomatoes being imported, what can we do long term to stop the importation of items in tomatoes? So same thing.
So control some imports and then give room for more export in that area to go out.
And then for textile industry, if we also collect data as well, we would now start to think, what can we import that would stimulate creative thinking and innovation? And this is what brings about industrialization. Then we reduce finished goods coming in and increase, the right raw materials to stimulate these, creative thinking ideas.
I think that's also, and maybe I will ask Gepa about that one when we go forward. But I also want you to help us compare what you send out there, particularly to the Western countries, as against those that you send to the African market. What if you can compare for us? How does it look like? The attractiveness, the enthusiasm to purchase and all of that.
The enthusiasm, the attractiveness is exactly the same, because for us, we are selling a brand. We have positioned ourselves and we try to carry the same brand image across the board. But the reasons why we are not trading with countries in Africa is because of this logistics issue. And if this problem is going to be eliminated, I would say Africa is enough, would even be enough for my business to trade with. Nigeria is huge, we have Kenya. We wouldn't even be able to meet the demand. The problem now would be the raw material, access to raw materials and the tools to stimulate innovation and then creative thinking. That would be our challenge now. And like I was saying to you earlier on, it would have been great if this agreement has been the drive was from high demand and supply, rather than the reverse. This having the agreement to now, stimulate demand and supply. It should have been in the reverse.
Okay.
So
stimulate the demand and supply before you get the agreement. But
but a lot should have been done before.
Okay.
It's sad that we are now going to start, implementing.
Because you needed people to agree. You needed other countries to agree.
The opportunities have always been there. Because we have been sending a lot of the women under our umbrella to trade shows in the Western world. And sometimes, they get deals they are not able to fulfill, or they're able to fulfill, and the next time the client comes, they haven't diversified the product range to appeal to the client. So there's a lot that has to be done. It's not that opportunities are there. They are there.
So what is it about the logistics again? Repeat it so that we can get a response from Mr. Dajawa.
It's the smooth transition, moving goods from Ghana even to Nigeria. At every point you have to pay extra taxes. By the time it gets to the client,
the transportation.
So let's say if you exported with the DHL, maybe the client has ordered up to about $3,000. You break them into small groups. When it gets to the country, the destination, there's always extra charges. It's not a fixed charge. The charge changes every day. So you could send a package to, let's say, Gabon today, and it's 2 kilos, 500 cedis, and then they decide, okay, we'll charge $20. Next day, you send the same amount, and then it's like, $100. So you're not confident trading, because you don't know when there's no consistency. You don't know whether you're going to make a loss or not. So then you'd move your attention to the Western world, because it's a lot easier. Exactly, it's a lot easier.
But Doctor, are we likely to see this eliminated when we get into implementation of the CFTA, for instance? Consistency in charges, logistics, fees, and things like that. Are we going to see something change in this direction?
Well, I think eventually that's what you want to see happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that some of these things will take time. And so there is something which generally when you have observatory on trade where these issues could be pointed out, documented and dealt with. So you're talking about harmonization of prices. And I think what she's pointing out is what in trade we'll call facilitation issues, trade facilitation issues. I think those things, for instance, if you start from Ghana, countries handle things differently, and that at times is very difficult to have uniformity. But competition would eliminate that, because if, let's say, what she's going through, one country is putting bottlenecks or impediments, another country might seize upon that opportunity to try and remove those impediments. So there'll be competition.
But under frameworks, implementation frameworks that would ensure harmonizing all these fees and charges everywhere, instead of leaving it to competition.
Well, this is what we call non-tariff barriers.
Yes.
I mean, what she's trying to point out is something which you might say non-tariff barriers.
Which are supposed to be removed.
You remove it. So it's part of the agreement. Part of the agreement requires for us to work on removing non-tariff barriers. So those issues that she's pointing out, countries would have to bring it forward, and this can be part of the whole dispute mechanism to try and solve it. So these are, I think, what she's saying. I'm not trying to say that they are not legitimate. They are good reasons. But I think you would have to look at it from another point of view and say, this offers an opportunity. As we continue to do it, right, some of these issues will be removed. I think what my good friend is talking about here, about the opportunities that the the export strategy presents, I think this is beautiful, that if there's anyone watching, should seize upon it, find out what are these strategic products that Gepa is talking about, pool resources either through crowdfunding, and find a way that you can create this industry, because what is most important is adding value to whatever product. And I think this is what they are trying to say. Take cocoa, they want 80% of it value addition, and maybe 20% be the ones that we would going to export in raw form. So I come back to this. The question is that this presents an opportunity. There's potential, enormous potential for Ghana to seize on this. You know, to begin to think. See, as human beings, the way we are, we always default to where we are comfortable, to say that this may not work. These are the challenges. We always look for what are the obstacles to things. Rather, let's focus on the opportunities that we can get from this free trade area. To do that, I think there's one aspect, two things that I think I need to mention. And one is the finances, access to credit for people like her, for small businesses. We've got to look into it and see how can small businesses have access to credit. That to me is important. We've got to begin to look into the question of the exchange rates. Maybe the fluctuations, what she's talking about, could be coming from fluctuations in exchange rates. Right? Possible. So this leads to the question, do we want a common currency? Maybe it's too early, but do we want a common currency? These are some of the things that we need to do. And the last thing I want to say is, at the conference I was saying, Ghana probably should begin to look at the possibility of using this trade thing, having the secretariat in here in Ghana, but use it as a possibility of creating a financial hub, to make Ghana a financial hub. Why do I say that? New York is a financial hub. You have all the Wall Streets there. You have all these big banks. What a financial center does is you would get the best banks to come here. You would have the brightest bankers to come here. You would have the brightest lawyers to come here. You would be able to have young people who you would begin to create jobs, right? So it's for trade to happen, you need trade financing. So we've got to think long term, to look at the possibility that we can generate and turn this and complement the trade secretary that we have with a financial hub. I believe it can be done. I strongly believe it can be done. Before, we didn't have Nigerian banks here before. Now you have them all over, right? But if you have a location, a particular location, with the right tax incentives, you don't have to put it in Accra. That the location could be somewhere else, in terms of making sure that you diversify.
So we should deliberately create it, not to sit and feel that we cannot attract it. I mean, they should just come in.
I think you should deliberately create the financial hub.
Okay.
Deliberately on the part of the government, and if you want a place to, I can take you to a Kropon crap. We'll set it up there. But seriously,
yeah,
I mean, it's a very important thing that I raised. That government should begin to think of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me, nets, Gepard, what is there something within the nets that's supposed to address the concern raised, for instance, the logistics issues, the unstable pricing issues that NA has raised, for instance?
Well, for the the net is a national strategy.
Yeah, so it doesn't go beyond.
It's not an international strategy. It is what Ghana would do in responding to the opportunities that are there in the market.
But then what you will do
issues
in responding to the challenges that are also out there.
But of course, the logistics issues go beyond Ghana, particularly in terms of transport. If you are talking about transport, because transport is multimodal. It could be sea, air, and also land. But those that we have control over within our borders, we will do that, and the government is already putting those in place. For example, the railway plan that government has, it's a very laudable one, which is being rolled out. What we need to do now is to also attract more airlines to fly from Ghana, and using Ghana as a aviation hub for West Africa, and through that to Africa. And I think it's in government plans already. We have seen how the airports are being expanded to deliberately create a condition for more airlines to come here. If there is a lot more cargo, particularly export cargo, to be taken from Ghana. Certainly, it's an opportunity for the airlines to come in and establish here. I know a couple of them are doing quite well. Qatar Airlines has already started operating. Ethiopia is upscaling its ability to take cargo from Ghana. Just 2 weeks ago, we have had some negotiations with Ethiopian Airlines on behalf of our vegetable and fruits exporters, so that it give dedicated, cargo space for Ghanaian produce. Because now we realize that post-COVID, a lot more activity is going to be generated, and already I can tell you that the vegetable sector is doing very well, and already cargo availability is increasing, and is making the industry looking good now.
Okay. And
Ethiopia Airlines has seen an opportunity in that, and they want to partner with our Ghanaian private sector in that respect to be able to push their products real time into the market without even passing through Addis, going directly to UK. And we are in talks with them to ensure that we facilitate the process for them. And I believe that more airlines will be coming in. For the ship, going by ship,
the sea trade.
The sea trade. It's also something that already the AFTA has taken care of, in the sense that we want to have a continental shipping facility that will enable all the countries to take advantage of. Because right now it's limited. Because if you want to export to the Southern African countries, for example, you don't have direct shipping lines going there. You first have to go to continental Europe before coming down.
Let me even ask any of the African countries that have a shipping line. I want to know.
Currently?
Yes.
No. Okay. No. But it's something that has been thought of many years ago. And with the AFCFT, this presents a new challenge, a new opportunity for us. And I think already the leaders are discussing that, to get a dedicated
shipping line
for Africa. Okay. And I also know that with ECOWAS there has been a lot of discussions in that respect. So I think it's about just a matter of time that these things will come to fruition. But in terms also of the peculiar challenges of taxes and all that, that is what the AFC is supposed to do.
They're supposed to remove these.
It's supposed to remove these both tariff and non-tariff barriers.
Yeah.
But these can only happen if pressure is put on the respective countries that have signed the agreement and have ratified to do the right thing. And I'm sure that peer pressure alone is going to be effective to take care of that. And that is the reason why the Secretariat is also being established, because they are going to be the neutral arbiters in this to push for it. And you have a young person who is the Secretary General, Wankele Mene, who is very,
vibrant.
Vibrant and want to push for Africa to develop. And he says this is our last chance. And so he is going to do everything possible to push the leaders to do the right thing. And once you have ratified and have accepted to implement the agreement, you don't have any option but to do it. And liberalization is over a period of time. It's not going to happen just instantly as we begin trading on 1st January 2021. But it's a gradual process. And as Doc rightly said, it takes time for the countries to gradually dismantle these tariffs.
Even for the countries that have signed and ratified.
Because depending on each country's strength, because they are classified. We have the developing countries, even within Africa, the relatively developed one and the least developed ones. And each of these categories have been given a period of time to be able to work towards 90% liberalization. You understand? So it's going to take a time for it to happen. Bear in mind that for most countries, tax revenue from tax and import duties constitute quite a significant portion of their revenues that they use in developing their countries. So it's going to take some time, but eventually the liberalization will come. And that 90% liberalized products that attract zero tariff will be implemented, except for the remaining 10%, which is distributed between our sensitive and restricted.
Can I come in?
Please.
Let me pick up a point on the question of the tariff, the zero tariffs. The question is that you should know that when you import goods, right, there's the insurance and the freight charges. Those will still be there though. All right? But it's only the tariffs that is going to go.
The customs duties.
The custom duties are going to go. Right. So the key question is, as he rightly pointed out, the tariffs and import duties have always been part of the budget support for countries, right? And so the need to ease quickly from that area will depend on the adjustments that government has to put in place. Because all of a sudden you realize that your revenues that you're getting from tariffs are no longer going to be there if you go into a zero tariff zone from within Africa. Now, there are ways in which you can adjust that. You can augment, you can forestall that. What you need to do, and I have to emphasize this, your tax revenue, you should try and let your tax revenue grow. For the tax revenue to grow, I'm not suggesting that you increase taxes. You have to try and broaden the pie or broaden the base. So for instance, through this agreement, you might have new industry. Once you move into new industrialization, you'll have new companies coming, you'll have new employments coming, which have to pay income taxes and all that. But before then, we get there. Make sure that the tax loopholes people are taking advantage of, plug them, right? Because you're not going to get any more tariff revenues to support your budget, to build a new school that you're looking for. So you've got to find a way to address that. You've also got to find a way to address what we call the illicit financial flows. The illicit financial flows, what I mean is that Africa loses about 50 billion, the minimum, through illicit financial flows because of under-invoices and over-invoicing on imports duties and all those things. So governments would have to now begin to do a thorough forensic audit on these companies to be able to stop the illegal monies that are leaving the countries. So if we are able to collect all these things, right, it will help. But before we get there, countries that went in through this, the COMESA, the Common Market for Southern and East and Southern Africa, COMESA, they had something what is called the compensation fund, right? So you have to put in place, and I don't know how African Union or the governments of Africa would have to think through that, to have a compensation fund whereby countries that are going to be losing some form of revenues right, through tariffs reductions or zero tariffs, are able to be compensated to make the necessary adjustment as they go through, right? EU has that, what they call the stabilization fund. So all these things we would have to think through, but I'm not saying here that it means that we should stop.
Okay.
I think we need to move on.
Okay.
And I think
deal with the issues as they
come. And you know, it is not going to be rosy on day one.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to be rosy on day one. It's just like marriage. You marry a beautiful woman, right? It takes time. As you go through time, you realize, you know, right?
Nice shaking the head.
Now you realize what it is to be married.
Yeah.
You see, those days you were just going for dinner dates and all that, right? But now you are married. So now everything is full blown. But eventually you sustain it and it works well in the end, right? So it's the same thing.
Let me ask now, if all these that you are hearing makes you convinced that there is some potential for your business, plus those of your colleagues getting into the very near future, because just in 2 months we commence this Continental Free Trade.
Yeah, it's actually really around the corner. Yes, definitely, but I think there's also a lot more that has to be done.
Yeah.
So for my sector like this, I would want to see collaboration between academia and businesses. So let's say academia and the textile industry, coming up with all these chemicals to diversify their product range. Then we want to see collaborations between the textile industry and the apparel. And I like to keep these two industries separately. Yes, because apparel thrives on textiles. You can't have a thriving apparel sector when your textiles is not doing well. That means the importation is high. So to be able to leverage the two of them, we need to go into the roots of the issues of the textile industry. I would, like I was saying earlier on, what was there before the wax print arrived? The small scale businesses, those into the tie and dyes, those into the batik, you know, get them to develop this and diversify the range. This is what feeds a whole community. This is what creates jobs. And from this, you can build the garment industry as well. Yeah, so a lot of collaborations and also producing to meet the needs, the demands of, you know, the people as well, because we have to enjoy what we are producing for us to see the quality, for us to be able to talk about it with confidence.
Do you see us enjoying what you produce, for instance? Are Ghanaians, patronizers getting attracted by what you produce, for instance?
For my brand, yes, but I also feel that there's a lot that can be done. Because for
you represent other exporters as well.
Exactly.
Do you see that?
No, I would say when it comes to access to raw materials, let's say most people in the textile industry are using our wax prints to promote made in Ghana. Now, what are the wax print plants providing us? Very little. The options are very few.
Why is it that they can't produce in larger quantities?
It's not the production, but also it's like I said, the collaborations between science and the textile plants to be able to come up with new textures, because the fashion is, you know, is changing all the time. The trends are changing. People want more comfortable clothes. They want, you know, cotton
soft,
fabrics.
Relaxed,
exactly, ones that you can feel comfortable in. If I could buy all my clothes and feel comfortable, and they're 100% cotton made in Ghana, I wouldn't have any need to be buying, you know, garments when I travel. You know, I would rather take garments from here to flaunt outside. If the garments are not, you know, comfortable, and that of what I'm getting from outside is a lot more comfortable, then.
So what you're saying essentially is that there should be innovation.
There should be innovation, yes.
And there you are calling for the academia, whom I presume that you think that can unearth some of these innovations.
Definitely.
And share with industry so that they can improve. So you want industry to be able to produce quality stuff, which is what you're not getting.
Yes.
Is the export strategy targeting something like this?
Yes. You know, we have, for all the 17 odd products that we have specific strategies outlined for them. We have done a complete SWOT of the sectors. We've done their strengths, their weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats. And it's, you know, the strategy took almost 2 years, just about a year and a half to complete. and all the challenges were identified, were analyzed, and all that. We spoke in, more than 100 different organizations took part in it. Academia was there, research institutions, the CSR, were all represented. And so for each sector, there is specific strategies that have been outlined to take care of the challenges that were identified. One of which, of course, is even dyes. The issue about dyes is not only in textiles, it's also in the crafts.
The crafts, yes.
So
raffia and that.
We want to standardize them. And there are very important issues about even chemicals. Because there are now international regulations regarding what types of chemicals you can use in dye. And there are some that are banned that you cannot use. And all these have been identified and specific strategies have been applied to take care of them.
And what are those specific, and how have they been embraced by these actors? Because we want to see that quality improvement as soon as possible.
No, trust me, all these have been taken care of in the strategy document. It's
which then means what? Taking care of means that they have agreed that they are going to improve quality in collaboration with industry.
Certainly,
academia.
Everything has one of its major recommendations that were made is to link industry with research in all. I mean, if you talk about agricultural products, you talked about it. For example, yam. That we are not going to export only fresh yam, but we have to process the yam into chips and all that and vacuum pack. Or even if you do the fresh ones, you don't send the tuber anymore because there are restrictions and all that. So you have to do vacuum pack and cut and vacuum pack. And all these will be science-based, research-based. So for each of the products that we identified, we have specific strategies for linking research and industry to the development process. So all of them have been taken care of, and these are in the strategy document. And each of it is going to be taken as and when the need arises. So what we then have to do is to invite private sector to be part of it, because they've already been part of it. So now the strategy is launched, and it will be out there for everybody to see where they can pitch. Because the strategy has many facets that have to be looked at by the specific industries that are involved in that aspect.
And I'd like to say, there's a lot of training that GEPA actually offers, a lot of amazing training that helps us to scale our business or helps us to get better.
Nice.
But another thing that they need to probably do a lot more is probably have a lot more panel discussions where, by sector, where all these issues and challenges are highlighted, so that they can now, structure themselves well to best tailor to our needs.
Okay.
So a lot of discussion, more engagement.
The strategy has only been launched 3 days ago.
Okay.
We are just waiting. We were just waiting for the launch, which actually has happened. The president was there. The Minister of Trade himself was the one who initiated the process and all that. So everything has been agreed now, and we are good to go.
Okay.
So the challenge, we had a debrief with him on Friday, and he told us that now everything is set. You guys have to roll out the plans that we have, and so we are going to take them out there for everybody. We are going to do road shows all over the country. Go to all the regions of Ghana and the districts, and then bring all the good things that are in the plan for everybody to see, so that it will be owned 100% by the Ghanaians, especially the private sector. Because they are the ones that will be able to implement it, not us.
I want to come in the sense that it's a great idea that GEPA, Ministry of Trade, have to go around, have these seminars, conferences,
do
training,
a lot of engagement
and all that. That's great. But there's also the other flip side of the coin, which is, I think, people like her, small businesses, big businesses, try and find out what is in for you. You see, because
they themselves should be proactive.
Themselves should be proactive, right? Because you always say that the government is not coming to you, but you should also try and say, we are organizing this conference, we want to understand ourselves, what is the CFTAs about?
Maybe they haven't even heard about the net.
I think they do.
They have.
Well,
you launched it 3 days ago.
So let's say we have have heard about it. A lot of the women, I was actually discussing with them just before coming here, and they are really looking forward to it. But they actually did highlight a few of the issues that I've actually mentioned. Now, for instance, one of the workshops that we are having under the She Trades project was to have a panel discussion with some of the women in the industry to bring, highlight their challenges, which we are then going to move on to, a policy dialogue with, some people in government, roping one district, one factory, GEPA, and then see how we can solve these issues. So it's definitely something that we are doing, but we need to do it a lot more, and also for the different sectors. And I would also say, in terms of expectation, I know there was a figure that I saw in the document, what the growth expectation. It would be good to break for us to see it broken into the different sectors. What is the expectation for our sector, so that we know what opportunities there are, and then if X is the expectation, how much is the government putting in to get that much back out? We want to know all of these things. So the figures are also very important. Yes.
Okay, it's a promise coming from GEPA, so you should take it serious. I'm going to play a short Sustainable Development Goals promo for you to hear. Now, these are some initiatives that have been taken by businesses to ensure that they also help contribute to achieving the development goals set by the United Nations. And when we come back, we'll deal with some other issues, talk about what Amanoa, for instance, expects of state actors and non-state actors. We'll also talk about how businesses can, while they do all these business and they want to take advantage of the big single market and all of that, they also can contribute to the UN targeted SDGs. And then we'll wrap up along that line. But you may want to thoughts with us. I've seen quite a number on the Facebook page, but the WhatsApp number that you can WhatsApp is 055-901-9177. You can share your thoughts with us if you are into export and you have questions as well for UNECA or GEPA or Na Amanoa. The number that you can call is 020-552-8353, 020-552-8353. Let's pick the SDGs and what the port industry, the Port and Harbours Authority is doing towards achieving that. We'll be back shortly.
Waste segregation is mainly separating and sorting of waste to facilitate recycling and reuse where applicable. When waste is effectively segregated, the following benefits are derived. 1. Revenue is gained from the sale of recyclables. 2. The cost of waste disposal is reduced as the volumes of waste carried to the landfill is reduced. 3. There is increased sanitation and improvement in the beauty of the surroundings and health of the occupants and our communities. 4. There is further reduction of fire and other hazards. 5. There is also prevention of land contamination through leaking of harmful substances into the atmosphere, that is, by the process called leachate into the soil and groundwater. Above all, waste segregation satisfies most of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. More importantly, waste segregation enables us to meet the last 4 requirements as practiced in most developed countries in the implementation of the waste hierarchy, which is to reduce, reuse and recycle, recover and residual management. The types of waste generated in the port include organic garbage and other general waste, paper waste, plastic waste, wooden waste, oil waste, construction waste and electronic waste. To leverage the benefits of waste segregation to the ports and maritime community, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is continually improving on its existing waste segregation practices under its waste segregation program by undertaking the following. 1. Segregating used plastic bottles kept in designated holding areas and handing over to licensed companies for recycling. 2. Holding or storing of office paper waste and keeping them at designated areas for collection by licensed recycling companies in exchange for toilet rolls. 3. Internally generated used computers and accessories are segregated and handed over to licensed recycling companies for proper disposal. We expect to extend this to all internally generated used electrical and electronic equipment. 4. Storing internally generated oil waste and handing them over to licensed waste oil dealers for further treatment, reuse, and disposal under EPA's guidelines. 5. Designating used tires at holding areas to be handed over to licensed recycling companies. 6. The Ports and Harbours Authority has also created a designated area for holding wooden and metallic waste and then handed over to licensed scrap dealers and smelting companies through auction. Waste segregation is not just of environmental and economic importance, but is gradually becoming a matter of legal concern. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is soliciting the support of all staff and port users to make waste segregation a success within the port community. This will in turn contribute to addressing our local communities' environmental issues, while at the same time assist in the United Nations Development Goals such as Goal 6, which is clean water and sanitation, Goal 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities, Goal 12, responsible consumption and production, Goal 13, climate action, Goal 14, life below water, Goal 15, life on land, Goal 17, partnerships to achieve the goals.
Build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels.
Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development.
These goals have been agreed on by our 193 countries. This is the plan. Let's get to work. Let's make it happen.
Okay, so that's the way the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is contributing its quota in achieving the United Nations Development Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sure quite a number of companies are doing a lot in different directions. We'll be bringing them to you on this platform, and we wish that a lot of businesses, as we're pushing businesses to take advantage of a single huge continental market, you would also be considering how you can contribute to the sustainable development goals. Mr. Jadawa, I want to find out from you, the nets, somebody has just sent in a message. It says, my question is, in terms of the textile industry, how is the authority working out to recycle the discarded clothes or rags, as it is known in Ghana? This is coming from Bolga One Bosco. Is there something to that effect?
Well, I think we have touched on that. That is in Emmanuel's
direction
area. Yes,
yeah.
You know, the governments, as I said, there are specific recommendations and strategies for developing the various sectors that have been retained in the strategy documents.
Yeah.
And so it's as a result of extensive work that was done. And so I'm pretty sure that that aspect was also taken care of. Even if it's not, and these are brought to the attention of the implementers, we'll be able to fix whatever. It's not cast in stone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a working document that can always undergo changes.
Okay, let me ask.
Improve the process. So yes, if it is not there, definitely if the opportunity is there and the market is there for it, why not? We will still develop.
Okay, let me ask Isaac's question and I'll come back to financing and sustainability of the nets. He says, good evening, Samuel. Watching the discussion now, very fruitful. Please, where can one go to get full details on the nets? That's the National Export Development Strategy website, online, etc., or where? Isaac.
Well, first of all, website www.gepa.gov.
Okay.
www.gepa.gov. That is our official website, and already summary of the strategy document is being posted there. But the full document will be available very soon.
Okay.
However, if you want to physically go for it, then the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Ghana Export Promotion Authority, just visit our offices and we'll be able to give you a copy.
Okay, so we get a lot of these strategies coming up. Sometimes, sometime back, we had the GPRS, there was one, there was a two. You have this National Export Development Strategy. How sustainable is it? How are we going to be sure that it will live to the dream for which it's been established and all of that? And in terms of financing some of the content that you have enumerated as to executing them, how sure that you have enough funds to execute them as well?
Well, in terms of the success of the strategy, it depends on all of us. It's a national strategy. It's not for GEPA. It's not for the Ministry of Trade. Neither is it for the associations.
What should everybody else do? Businesses, individuals, public?
Well, it's to pitch.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, take a stake in it. Take advantage of it. First of all, know what it is. As we have started the process of sensitizing the public upon it, this is a very important step. Thanks to Metro TV for the opportunity tonight.
The Ghana Ports and Naval Authority,
and the Ghana Ports and Naval Authority also for this great opportunity. From here, we're going to talk a lot about it in other studios. We'll be going to the regions so that everybody knows about it. And then you decide what fits for you, what sector you are in. Once it falls within the strategy, we'll be able to assist. And as we've already also said, it doesn't mean that if you are not in any of the sectors that I've enumerated, you don't have a chance. You still have, because all sectors are being developed equally, except that we want to give priority, focus on these because of their potential out there and our capacity to actually perform in those sectors.
Okay.
And so everybody is encouraged to come in. So the success of the implementation depends on all of us, civil society, government, private sector, the educational institutions, because we have services, as I've said, the medical facilities because of their importance there. So everybody has a role to play, and together we'll be able to implement it. It's over a 10-year period, and so all is not going to be done in a year.
Yeah.
We will have to stagger it as we go along. In terms of financing, now in the strategy document, as I said, our target is $25 billion, but we need at least $50 million annually, as funding to implement specific aspects of the strategy over the 10-year period. So we need about $600 million to get $25 billion. You understand? Which works out for just about 10% of.
And is that guaranteed?
Investment into it. As of now, well, we are still identifying sources of funding for it. Of course, government is the biggest investor in it, and so it's government's priority to put in money there. But of course, as we know, government alone cannot do it. We also are depending on the private sector itself to also bring their own resources to implement it. We are looking at other sources, development partners if they will come in. We have a development bank, which is the Exim Bank for export. We also expect that they will also come in to, give us a very big push. Recently, we have the good news that the Minister of Finance has announced that a development bank is going to be set up early next year. We are encouraged by that, and we believe that if it's dedicated to development, then export development is an aspect that must, get priority attention of that particular bank if it comes on stream, so that we can leverage on that also to implement it. But government has already deployed a lot of funding in this industrialization agenda, which is pushing into the 1D1F. The 1D1F is a major pillar of the success of the strategy, in the sense that we are talking about value addition, value-added products, manufactured products, and each of these 1D1F factories are producing producing processed goods, which are candidates for export anyway.
Okay.
And we always mention the classical issue of or example of a confit.
Yeah.
Now a confit is doing well. The juice is there in Central Park. Once we get addicted to it,
and it's very nice.
And it's very nice. Natural,
very nice.
With no additives, no sugar, nothing. It's just the juice. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to do very well.
No additives, no sugar.
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
It's just
I'm encouraged again.
Juice.
Okay.
That is being packaged very well. So it will do well in the market.
Dr. Tamensa,
yes.
Aside the export development strategy, are there do you expect, or would you say that the export development strategy is good enough to propel businesses to meet this huge demand that would be out, this huge task that will be out there, competing in a very big market like that, 3 trillion that we are hearing about, as soon as we all become one? So we'll have a single market just from January 1 going.
Well, I think,
Or what else will be required?
Well, there's a lot that will require to make sure that the free trade area works well.
Particularly for Ghanaians and Ghanaian businesses.
For Ghanaians. And some of the points that we've raised are still valid. The question of the monetary and evaluation to ensure that what the firms and industry are doing is right, is going in the right direction. But I think the National Export Development Strategy, I think if we could implement it and be successful, it will help Ghana a great deal.
Okay.
Now it will help Ghana a great deal because then our growth becomes export-led. What makes South Korea is because it's export-led.
Okay.
What makes Singapore is because it's export-led. What has made China is because it's export-led.
Yeah.
So if these strategies are able to go through, and Ghana's growth is determined by a large extent on its export strategies, then I think the sky is the limit. And so I would encourage that. But you see, a strategy in itself is not enough.
Yeah.
Right? There are no number of things that you need to create. The enabling environment that needs to happen. If you have a business idea, the idea is only good in the head, but it's got to be implemented. And to implement it, it requires money.
Yeah.
It requires access.
That's why I was asking for financing.
It requires other issues. So, I bring back the issue of my financial help thing.
Okay.
You need the banks, all of them to come through with that. For instance, in Texas, I'm trying to change a trend here. I was telling a friend, my good friend here, that I would have worn a white shirt and a tie. But a friend of mine who gives me these shirts, Baita, Fashion Sense, always gives me these shirts. And when I go to work now, I dress this way. The reason I do that is because I want Africans to take possession of their own clothing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
Okay. Let me pick a call on the line calling from Kaswa if we still have Echo, because we've kept him on the line for some time. Hello, Echo. Do we have Echo? No? Okay. So we've got text, quite a number of texts. This one says, I'm watching the program, very useful. I am a young Ghanaian who want to go into exporting of non-traditional products. Please, can they in clear terms let me know what the steps are when it comes to exporting? Does the export promotion make things difficult for exporters? That's a question, actually. So he's not saying that you make things difficult for exporters. So what can he do, young exporter who wants to do?
Yeah, young exporter, welcome to the export fold. It's a simple process. We don't put any impediments in the way of exports. Actually, we encourage everybody to come into the export sector. So first of all, he has to have a company registered. Okay. He must have a company registered with the Registrar General Department. And then he brings the certificates to us, and then we register him and give him a certificate as an exporter. And then we take it from there. But first of all, he has to identify which area he wants to venture into. As I said, we have a lot of product sectors.
Yeah.
We prioritize these ones in the export development strategy. Maybe before we end, I will go through the products again.
Okay.
For the benefit of the public. But first, he must identify his how will I call it? His strength. Yeah. Exactly what he wants to do. Is it in the agricultural sector? Is it in the craft sector? Is it in services? Is it in manufacturers? Does he want to manufacture something? Now, if he has an idea of what he wants to do, then the next step is to then come to Ghana Export Promotion Authority, and we will take him through the process.
Okay.
Because he's a young person, he may need some training, because the export business is quite a difficult one and challenging. and there are a number of pitfalls that he has.
And he says his interest is in shea butter, and pineapple.
That's very good. These two are already in
your priority areas.
So you should take the steps to come to our offices, and we'll be able to help him through the process.
Okay. Amana, state and non-state actors, beyond the nets that you have heard about today, would you want, or do you have any specific request?
Yes. I mean, there's already a lot that's been done, but with regards to this new agreement, we would like to see a lot more from GEPA. We are already seeing, a huge amount of efforts being put into, helping to scale up our businesses. We'd also like to see the SDG goals incorporated into all of this. We'd want to know, would like to see, intentional, being intentional about, the opportunities there are for women and women employment, and how we are going to try and, close these gender gaps. As well. Yeah.
Maybe if I can respond to that. Yes, the strategy has also acknowledged that we have three major what we call cross-cutting areas that emphasis will also be placed on. One is women, two is the youth, and the three is the physically challenged. The physically challenged in exports. Women in export and the youth in export. These are very important facets of our life that we should not marginalize. So the strategy also has specific, ideas as to how to integrate these into the sector, so that they can also, develop along as we try to develop the rest of the sector. So we'll be giving priority to women-owned businesses. Already Ghana Export Promotion Authority Service began implementing some projects targeted mainly at the youth, because we recognize that they are key, and the strategy acknowledges the particular role of the youth. And so that if we start them early, then as those who are in the export sector now grow and are not able to do that, then the youth will take over and also improve on that, because it's a 10-year strategy. So if a youth now at the age of 16, 17, by the end of strategy implementation, it would have been about 27 years. So if we start early, then incrementally they will also be contributing their quota.
And then also, as we expose our SMEs to, them trade opportunities, there's going to be some risk factors as well in terms of competition, intellectual property. Is there going to be something that's going to be put, in place to protect our businesses?
In fact, you just have to. We'll be giving out the documents for everybody to study. It's like a textbook.
All of that is embedded in there. They can also approach you to get all this information.
It's a huge document, so we need to read through it, and it's a good job that was done. Over a 1-year period. So all these have been taken care of.
Doctor, you are coming from a UN organ, the UN, the UNECA, and I'm sure that SDG will definitely be one of your key targets. As we all rush to begin to rally people around to trade, how are we ensuring that we do that, also contributing to meeting the target? So there's quite a number of targets, about 17 of them of the SDGs. What are the plans to ensure that we contribute to that as we trade?
Well, I think if you look at the 17, a few of them is infrastructure, innovations, and growth, environment, partnerships, and in terms of sustainable development goals, they hinge on three principles: economic, social, and environmental. Right? So these are the three things that they are based on, and we believe that when you begin to have this trade, you would have to have industrialization. And when you get into industrialization, the question is, are you going to go green quickly? And I think you should go green. And so if you do that, right, in our estimation, the simulations that we've done is that if you go green, right, trade, removal of tariffs, technology, and going green, immediately you see that the potential increases in terms of growth,
Yeah.
and between about 44 billion. That will come to Africa as a whole.
Okay.
Now, the skills, the education is also part, particularly the youth, women. I think education is something which I like to talk about because it's very important for trade.
Okay.
We need to get the right skills. You see, most often you come out of schools, you have your degree, and you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Because we are not trained as entrepreneurs. We don't go to school to be trained as an entrepreneur. So I would like to see more that entrepreneurship becomes part of this curriculum. I would like to see more that innovation, we have to be more innovative, like as you pointed out throughout the slide. We have to be more innovative in the way we look at things. So therefore, education becomes critical. You know, it's not only the universities that you should get education from. You have technical, vocational, and other institutions, which are very important, because artisans, right? They are the ones who are the drivers. So we've got to try and begin to look at, you know, the formal, the informal sectors, and to see how it happens. This morning I was just working with a friend, and we saw a woman we saw a lot of women with their children going to church, and we remarked that women do a lot in Ghana. They raise the kids, they give them the religion, they give them the education, but yet they are not represented enough in society. What are we doing about that? Right? We've got to begin to realize that it has to be intentional.
That's why the likes of NAS Group, the She Trade folks should be encouraged a lot
and
more.
look, women I talk to in Africa are not looking for a microfinancing to give them $10 a year or to buy tomato. They want to be in the boardrooms. They want to be contractors. They want to be CEOs. They want to be titans of industry. So therefore, what I'm trying to say here is that you've got to find a way to help them to attain that.
How should we do that? Through education, basically?
Education first, but intentional.
Okay.
So therefore, for instance, the government could come out to say that in ministerial appointments, like in Rwanda, right?
Certain quota is given to women and all that. Okay.
30%, 40%. I know it's going to affect me as a man, right? But that's fine. You know, I tell you, you've got to rock the boat to change things so that women can have opportunities.
Deliberate effort to make women
to make it sure.
So you look at,
but make sure that you have competent women. Don't just go and say we're going to pick any woman to be.
And
find the good women.
There are competent ones as
well. Find competent women, and I'm sure there are competent women. No doubt on my mind.
So you have the goal 1, no poverty. You have 0 hunger. You have good health. So poverty, once people are encouraged to do a lot more business, you get rid of it. Now 0 hunger, almost the same thing. Good health, quality education, gender equality is what you
but
just.
Let me just say one thing though. I mean, yes, I love the SDGs, but I also, in my case, because you jogged my memory when you talked about poverty, I believe in wealth generation, wealth creation. I think we have to begin as we do this SDGs. I work for the UN, we've got to do it, but we've got to start creating millionaires. I want to see her in 10 years that she's a millionaire, even if I'm not. Right? You've got to create,
taking advantage of the CFTA.
You know, so we have to try deliberately to put in efforts that encourages wealth generation. We've got to change that mindset.
Okay. Right? Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So that's all covered. Reduced inequality. You have mentioned deliberate efforts to make women part of sustainable cities and communities. Once we get innovated and increase growth.
That citizen, you have to handle it carefully. Why? You've got to get people moving from my village, Domi, coming into town thinking that there are jobs here to be had. And all of a sudden they get here and they don't have their jobs. They then begin in slums, right? So you've got to find a deliberate effort as you create these mega cities be careful about the slums, because you cannot just all of a sudden kick people from a slum and put them in a high rise to make you comfortable to live in an apartment there. No. Okay. So you've got to handle those things carefully.
And then your goal 12 will be responsible consumption and production. So if you ensure that people are producing quality stuff, that can also be achieved. And climate action is also there. There is the peace, justice, and strong institutions.
The governance is key.
Governance is key. So life on land, we've talked about that, and partnerships for the goals that will be the same.
You cannot achieve. GEPA cannot achieve what it wants to do
without
partnership with her. Right. So those partnerships and partnership with outside world is also important.
Okay.
Exactly. Right.
So that should be it. I'm going to pick my international news quickly, and then the schedules of the vessels that are bringing your cargo or goods into the country, and then we will wrap up.
Drury, an independent maritime research consultancy. This could lead to the global shortage of seafarers. Ship operator recruitment and retention practices, as well as manning costs, are projected to rise as a result of tightening seafarer supply conditions. This will follow a year of exceptional costs associated with the impact of COVID-19 on crewing operations around the world. As part of a research, the shipping consultancy undertook a survey among employers of officers across a range of nationalities. This covered senior officers and junior officers. Respondents were asked to rate the availability in terms of how easy new hires are to recruit in the current market. There were 4 categories to select from, which are immediately available, usually available, scarce, and not available. The survey found that officer availability varies significantly by nationality and rank, with important implications for recruitment, retention, and wage rates, particularly in light of tightening labor market conditions. According to Drury, the findings show the importance of employers being flexible and keeping in mind the option of recruiting seafarers from other regions to combat any particular shortage of supply they may experience for a particular rank or nationality combination. A Dryad Global report revealed that an LNG carrier has been boarded and attacked by pirates in the Gulf of Guinea, resulting in the kidnapping of 1 crew member. The Marshall Islands flagged ship, identified as Methane Princess, was boarded while at anchor off Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, on 17th October. The 138,000 cubic meters vessel was attacked shortly after breaking off loading operations. The alarm was sounded and all seafarers on deck managed to retreat to the citadel. 1 man entering the citadel was injured. 2 crew members, both Filipino nationals, were on the jetty and both of them were taken hostage. Luckily, one of the kidnapped crew members jumped off the pirate vessel and was rescued. However, he sustained injuries to an unknown extent. Port of Le Havre, the top French port for foreign trade, has become a member of the Getting to Zero coalition to help decarbonize maritime transport. The coalition was launched at the United Nations Climate Action Summit 2019 as part of a partnership between 3 intergovernmental organizations, which are the Global Maritime Forum, Friends of Ocean Action, and the World Economic Forum to combat climate change. It aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from shipping by at least 50% by 2050. To reach this goal and to make the transition to full decarbonization possible, the members of this coalition are committed to help to develop zero-emission ships and fuels by 2030. The U.S. Department of Transportation has announced the award of more than $220 million in discretionary grant funding to improve port facilities in 16 states and territories through the Maritime Administration's Port Infrastructure Development Program. U.S. maritime ports are said to be critical links in the U.S. domestic and international trade supply chain, and this funding will assist in the improvement of port facilities at or near coastal seaports. Specifically, the development program aims to support efforts by ports and industry stakeholders to improve facility and freight infrastructure to ensure the nation's freight transportation needs, present and future, are met. The program provides planning, operational and capital financing, and project management assistance to improve their capacity and efficiency. Finnish technology group Wärtsilä has been selected by British ferry operator P&O Ferries to power the company's new series of super ferries. The contract, which encompasses 2 vessels, was signed in first quarter of 2020. The vessels will be powered by the Wärtsilä 31 4-stroke diesel engines, which is said to have high levels of fuel efficiency and reduce exhaust emissions. Ordered last year from China's shipbuilder Guangzhou Shipyard International, the 2 new 230-meter ships will be the largest ever to sail between Dover, England, and Calais, France.
Okay, so we've been talking how to promote value-added exports to remain very, very much competitive in the very huge African market that we are entering into. And Gepa, I'm going to end with you, Mr. Daja, on why do I always get Dajawa? Okay. So how can private business development and international trade consultants merge with Ghana Export Promotion Authority to help companies to enter into other countries, especially in the area of research in other countries to identify the right productions, price positioning, promotion, and standards certification? That's a question for you. That will be the last question, and then we can wrap up.
Well, as I said, I mean, implementing the strategy takes a lot of time, and of course we will require expert advice in many of the things that we'll do. Government alone will not be able to implement it. I keep on emphasizing that the private sector too is encouraged, and also research institutions, and more so consultants, experts who have expertise in assisting in any way possible to ensure that the implementation is smooth and we get the results. So if any consultant or experts, institution or individuals are there, they have roles to play, of course, because when we start rolling out the plans, the year-on-year, what we call the implementation plans, definitely there are specific activities that will have to be carried out, and so we require expertise. And so all they need to do is to contact Ghana Export Promotion Authority or the Ministry of Trade and Industry and express interest, and we'll be able to talk to them. If any of their areas coincide with what we are going to do, of course, we will retain them and use their expertise to deliver the specific activities that are lined up to be implemented.
Okay, and the last one says that do you help potential exporters to source market overseas?
Yes, that is traditionally our responsibility.
Okay, so they can all contact you if they need that assistance. Yes. Okay, so that should be it. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady, for having, first of all, the patience you have sat around throughout the program, the earlier program, and then coming your way, the Eye on Pod program that has traveled into this particular time. We haven't gone this time before. We always end around 7:30 and all of that. So now Manoa Williams is owner and head designer, Emma Baird handmade jewelry and accessories. There's something else. You the head for the she trade or something, or you represent? Okay. That's a big post. Okay, and Mr. Alexander Dajawa is the Director of Projects, Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Dr. Joseph Atamensa is the Principal Policy Advisor with United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA. Thank you very much. See you next week.